I'm Jeff, and with tools, technology, and training. And in this week's episode of What's Your Story, we're pleased to have Elijah McMillan on. And shout out to our sponsors that help me be able to do all this: Milton Industries, 180 Biz, Associated Equipment, Shop Dog Marketing. We so much appreciate their support in being able to share the stories that are going on in our industry. And Elijah is the owner at Second Mile Repair. Howdy, Elijah.
Hey Jeff, it's good to be here.
So tell us where you're at and tell us a little bit about your story about how you got started, because it's really interesting on how a YouTube influencer helped influence you to get you started.
Yeah, that's a great story. So, as a teenager, I tinkered with engines in cars, different things, and I would watch Paul's channel, Paul Danner or Scanner Danner, as we all know him. Um, and it became my favorite YouTube channel. It was one of those things. You can watch a lot of YouTube. There's a lot of stuff out there, but like, there's a lot of meat in what Paul teaches, and I kind of fell in love with automotive through that, and you know through my teenage years when I turned 18, my mother actually bought me Paul's book, and at the time, that was a big thing. I didn't have access to the book until there was I don't think there was ebooks even then, maybe, but anyway, yeah, my mother got the book for me. um and I had a few years after high school where I did other things because I didn't think you could be profitable in automotive. But I ended up coming back and realizing that this is still what I love doing. And in 21, 22, yeah, in 22, I decided to go out on my own in the automotive industry, which, some would say wasn't the smartest thing that I've ever done, but I'm loving it.
And when you say go out on your own, you started your own shop.
Yeah, so what this is another part that's really interesting in the story. My dad built a shop and he passed away kind of tragically, um in uh in 2009. So, I was just a little guy back then. And that building didn't really have a lot of use other than storage. And so that's actually where my shop resides now. I remodeled an area, made an office, put in a hoist, remodeled the Bay Area. Um, and it's super cool because my dad was someone who was into electrical and troubleshooting. He wasn't into cars, but what he taught the theory behind all of it at a college. So even though he never got to teach me that, I still like to think that the apple hasn't fallen far from the tree. And I love doing it and thinking of him because, we talk about Ohm's law and we talk about resistance and we talk about amps and volts, and that's what he taught. That's what he did most of my life growing up.
And so it's this is just a great story because it gets better and better every time you tell me something, because we've got the legacy of year in your dad's building.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, what memories there.
I've always loved troubleshooting. I haven't always been able to fix things, but it's like something that I can, as far back as I can remember, diagnostics was just part of me almost. Like, my family tells this story. I don't remember doing this, but they say that as a 2 years old, the washing machine broke and was making like a noise, and I pointed to it and said broken. And that's until today. Troubleshooting is just it's part of what I do. I mean, it's definitely the favorite part of my life, as far as in business in the automotive industry.
It's super important for folks to catch is your dad taught the basics.
Yeah, so he was an instructor for electronics as well as robotics and advanced math, but electronics was one of his big things at a local college. And he had a room in the basement where he kept all these things on the shelf. Like, board level, he built boards for things. Now I get to repair, replace modules. I remember as a child, he was building a device to go in a fire truck to dispense foam to put out fires. So, before everything was as automated as it was, but he worked with all that stuff. He had it all there, soldering and all of that. So it's pretty cool.
So you've been in your building there for 2 years, and you're starting out with just yourself, and you've already gotten into hybrid repairs.
Yes. So hybrid repairs is actually that's my favorite car to work on. I started with hybrids kind of just because family had them and learned the system of the Prius, and then since then I've been able to take some really good hybrid training and reinforce my knowledge about them. But I approach life with an attitude of if you have the mindset, you're able to do anything, and you have to add some caution to that for sure, because if that can sound like foolishness, but if you I guess my full experience, that's what I did. I said I can fix it, and I did some research. I didn't go do anything that was risking my life. Did research, but it just kind of been on a roll for me like that. And the makes of cars that we work on, everything is so different that there's still lots of days when everything seems completely new. And that's part of what makes this job so fun. But you have to just keep that mindset of, we're gonna figure it out and we're gonna get through this troubleshooting.
And you start messing with the hybrids and stuff, you have to do the research, you have to do the training. You want to give a shout out to where you got some training on the EVs?
So my first EV training, hybrid EV training course was at a local tech expo. It's the only tech expo in Michigan, the AutoWares Tech Expo, and it's probably 25% of the size of ASTE, if that. But I went in there with all this hands-on experience, and I sat and listened to G Trulia from New York talk about hybrid repair. And
Yeah,
I
that
just
G.
I just kind of I mean G is someone who I just admired immediately because he talked in that class about all the things that I had seen with my eyes, and I didn't really have any context for it other than this is what works and this is what doesn't. Um, I don't know why I never really thought about training until that point, but that event was a big eye opener for me because I actually took that class with G and then sat down and had lunch with him, and we talked about the industry and more training opportunities. So that was my first hybrid training class was there. Since then I did a Tesla class at ASTE with Seth Thorson. That was awesome. We rebuilt the Tesla drive unit. Um, or, I mean, kind of rebuilt one as far as what you can in a classroom. But so that was and then I've done some online training from different trainers as well.
Tell us where your shop is. It's a little bit rural, north of Grand Rapids.
Yeah, so we're in Canadian Lakes, Michigan, which is in uh well, it's Stanwood Canadian Lakes. It's one big rural area. But there is a retirement community with lots of lakes nearby, which is why it's called Canadian Lakes. I've lived here most of my life, and we have the one benefit of being the only shop within probably about 20-25 miles. So a lot of those lake people come here. And so it gives us a unique place to be in the middle of nowhere. We see things like Teslas and Rivians and Ford Mustang Mach-E's and the Ford Lightning. We haven't seen them all at the shop yet, but there's a huge EV population in this. I mean, considering the population in general, there's a lot of EVs because of the type of people that live here.
So, do you have a charging station at your shop?
I do.
Really?
Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit about that.
So right now I just have a level 2 charging station. I actually have a couple portable ones too. So if I want to charge in the bay just for troubleshooting purposes, I can hook one up and use it to test charging systems because it turns out charging systems are like probably the number one failure on especially older EVs. Um, so, but on the outside of the building, I have a decent, weatherproof charging station that I actually use to charge my own plug-in hybrid. Um, I almost bought a Tesla this week. That's another story for another day. But yeah, I would, I do have the infrastructure for doing it. I would say as far as public charging in this area, it's about 30 minutes to a charger. So there still isn't really much infrastructure. I think it's just that the people here are willing to experiment with it, maybe more than some others.
That's so interesting for you to be able to see that. And now, one of the struggles that you had mentioned was that you're still new and you're a young shop owner, so you haven't learned all of the different ways that maybe a seasoned shop owner knows that to charge for different things to make sure and to show your value.
Hmm.
And you said that you shared with me before we started that you understand the importance of going to events, and you've already been to ASTE, which is now ASTA, and you've also been to Vision.
Hmm.
Tell us a little bit about your experiences there, and I'm just so impressed that you've already started off with your contact with Paul Danner, a superstar in the industry, and then you're sat down and had a visit with G, and he's such a nice guy,
He
and
is.
and I want to it impresses me when someone like that will sit down with anybody that walks up and asks him questions.
G is someone who loves to teach what he loves to teach what he's good at, and he loves. I mean, I saw him at that Tech Expo as someone who could see my passion to learn and just definitely wanted to, help fuel that. And he's definitely. I mean, I actually ended up winning a ticket after that event to his new event in New York to TST. So I was actually to the TST big event totally. Another EV professional, his name is Robert Kenny. Um, he
I
gives
know.
away a ticket every year,
Oh,
and he
really?
and I won his ticket. So I ended up going out to New York. So that was my second training event before ASTE and then Vision.
Oh my gosh! And Robert Kenny, he's such a nice guy, just full of knowledge. And he teaches at one of the colleges, and then he goes to all the different events there. Because you were at AST, he was there,
Mhm.
and then Vision. I'm trying to think. He was there, and I didn't catch up with him out
Yeah, I
there.
feel like he was at Vision, but there were so many people at Vision that I mean, I missed so many of the people that I would have liked to see. It just that place was just full. I mean, it was awesome. Don't get me wrong, just you can't see everyone. I would say, so ASTE was something that I originally heard about on the Changing the Industry podcast, and just hearing and then being in some different groups, different Facebook groups connected with that, and seeing all the excitement leading up to it. I mean, quite a bit. I mean, shortly after they opened up registration, I was booking a room and stuff down there. Actually, I ended up there was another shop owner in Michigan that was sending a tech, and we ended up being able to show that. So that was great because it makes the expenses a little bit less. But and that's really cool because this other shop owner has this really training mentality of the fact that we're all in this together. So he's not trying to censor information or whatever you say, trying to build something over there by himself. Like he's trying to make the whole industry better. So that's a gesture that he had. One of his techs and I actually are good friends, so we just um kind of hung out at ASC together. But being at ASD, I mean, I can remember getting there and running into Jeff Compton and getting an opportunity to record with him and just I mean the networking for me is probably even better than the training because I'm a very I gotta hear things and I learn differently. So it's not that I don't learn through training classes, but if that's the only way that I had information, um, it'd be pretty hard for me to. So knowing other professionals that you can, um, you don't want to ask them basic things per se, but working on 30 makes of vehicles or whatever, there's always going to be something that you don't know. So meeting a lot of those people and just seeing how open they were to me as, the first time I was there, just, kind of trying to learn how to be a shop owner and trying to learn how to be, better as a technician too. And it's a race. It's a real treadmill to do that. Um, but it's amazing. So yeah, AST was, I mean, just a great experience all the way around. I mean, even from Thursday, well, Thursday I went to an EPROM class, so like board level repair with Mike Christopherson, which was great. That was the first time I'd really been to a class like that, and it definitely was a good introduction for me in that. And then, we had the go-kart racing there, and especially that was awesome. It's awesome how they make that event trading oriented, but they also make it fun so that you go away charged up. um you go away revitalized, to go home and hopefully do better. And so I mean that was an incredible experience for me for sure. And then of course Vision is the next big one that everyone goes to, and I wasn't going to go to Vision because I mean I'd love to be at Tools, I'd love to go to all these events, but when you're this early in the game you can't go to all of them. You got to kind of stay home and make the business work. But there's a local group of shop owners that I'm part of. My friend Corey Rosemuth from Rosemuth's Car Care is kind of heading that up, and he said to me like, you really need to come to Vision, and I was like, I'm not, I already didn't go to Vision, but he said that to me, once or twice, and I changed my mind and bought a ticket and was able to go to Vision after all. And again, it was just it was a great experience. I mean, the trainers are phenomenal, and there was a huge variety of, I took a service advisor class all the way to, you know, a John Thornton class. I mean, John Thornton has got to be one of the most interesting technical trainers that I've come across, and just you can learn a lot there. And then getting to um, hang out with Corey's team outside of work too is a super cool. I mean, and other automotive professionals, just like you're not there on your, I have 8 hours to do this job. It's just like we're all here to learn together. Let's eat food together. Let's, walk through the trade show and, dream about the next new piece of equipment or whatever. It, I can't, to me, those events, they recharge you, but you can learn, you can network, and it's absolutely worth the cost. Even for someone like me that, I mean, I'm early enough in this game. Like I'm certainly not getting rich, unlike some people think. They think that owning your own business is just the thing to do. But I'm certainly not getting rich. And I can say, going to ASTE and Division was a little bit of a step of faith because I was like, am I going to see a return on this? Um, I would say to anyone, um, not, um, you should definitely check it out. And even like our local tech expo, that one, I actually put a post out on Facebook and said, if any technicians want to go with me, I'll buy your ticket, just because it's like a little taste of Vision or ASTE, and I think we should all of us who can should try to take another technician or another shop owner to at least one of these events, just so that they can get a new perspective on the industry and get something other than, maybe standing underneath the car all day long.
On your marketing, when you talk about it, I've seen that you do mailers and you seem to get good response out of mailers.
Mhm. My first rodeo with mailers, based on what everyone was saying, was probably supposed to fail according to statistics, but I know we had a huge, um, I mean, the numbers were definitely there, for getting a return on the investment. But it being in a rural area, I needed to get my name out there, I guess. So I, designed a mailer. Had a friend help me with that, and got something that I liked. And actually, this is a funny story. The first batch I ordered was the wrong size because I'm not good at reading instructions, and I ordered like 5,000 probably of mailers that were the wrong size, and they're just burning material. You can't mail them. So um, learned that the hard way. But then we did a take two, and on the second batch, I think I sent out somewhere between 3 and 4,000 mailers and brought in like 12,000 worth of work off of those mailers and a handful of new decent clients, which for no marketing, that was before I started doing more Google ads too. So that was the one of the only ways we were marketing. Um, I've done a few more batches since with less success. And so far in the business this size, the first batch, I designed them, I counted them, I bundled them, and I mailed them. Um, and now I've got it to where the new one that we're actually in progress on right now. I got someone to design it who actually designs mailers for shops, and it kind of looked like it doesn't have quite the same look as our other mailers, but it kind of is one of those things that focuses you right on that phone number, and I feel like it's going to convert better. And then they're also going to bundle them, pre-count them. So that's a huge deal. So I'm really excited for the next batch of those for sure. But it's definitely something that can be hit or miss. There's a lot of different. I mean, I know shop owners um, in towns that have had less luck with them than I have, and I don't know. I think maybe it's just that there's not much auto repair that's decent around here. It's like 25 minutes to go. So if you get a mailer from a business that's 10 minutes away, you might look at that.
And say that's interesting because we're helping disperse the myths where they say, "Oh my gosh, you have to be a large shop, you have to be a huge shop, you have to have a lot of investment," and you don't. You can. There's a lot more small shops than there are large shops,
Hmm.
and in your marketing, it depends on your area. You can try different things where some areas they say, "Oh my gosh, mailers won't do," and you've like, "I tried them, it works." And so that's part of what we want folks to understand is you can go on all the forums and you can hear all these people saying, "Oh, this works, that works." But it's like, try it in your area, try it for your business. It depends on what you do. You're kind of like my shop where when you said, "Hey, we work on 30 different types of vehicles," you work on all makes and models. And then there's a lot of folks that just specialize.
Hmm.
That makes a difference in what you're doing and how you're doing it. You've mentioned with your dad's shop there
Hmm.
that you don't really have it set up for waiters, and that's a big part of the industry where we say you want waiters or you don't want waiters. You are using loaner cars. Tell us a little bit about that and how many do you have?
So we have two loaner cars now. And it started as this. I bought this Ford hybrid from another shop. It was one of those mystery cars that no one could fix. And I needed to know what was wrong with that car because I mean the theory behind hybrid is it just like those problem cars are the one of the best training things. Um, so that was our first loaner car. Um, and then recently I just added a second one because that was working so well. I have a system that I use that tracks them and it does the authorizations and makes sure the client has insurance. And so using that system, it's called shoploaner.com. It's like 25 bucks a month. And they they text the form to the client. The client can approve all of the terms and conditions, sign it. It comes back to us. We make sure it's all legit, the driver's license, insurance, and then we give them the car. Um, and it tracks things like dents on vehicles and damage because when you give clients loaners, it's going to happen. You don't want to give them Cadillacs, or Mercedes Benz necessarily, but it yeah, it's something I just added about first loaner maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and it was good enough that when another car kind of dropped into my lap, it was a Prius hybrid, which is or Priuses are all hybrids anyway. It's a car that people often will reach out to me with one of those that needs some major component and just want to unload it. And so I'm like loaner car, incoming here, and we threw an engine in it on a Saturday and got it ready to go. And um, so that's definitely a better long-term investment than the Ford, but it's been I mean I gotta say it's I don't like having loaners. I have a nice waiting area. I don't like having waiters. Excuse me. So I have a nice waiting area, but with me being the only guy, I always feel stressed doing the job when there's someone waiting. If they come take the call for the day, even if we're just doing brake job or whatever, like if there's anything that needs to be done while we're doing the inspection or anything, like they have peace of mind. They have a caller that is nice, and at the end of the day, they just come and switch cars and it's a seamless process really. So I definitely prefer that over someone sitting here and I'm trying to get the inspection done and maybe not doing as thorough a job. You're just kind of like doing everything fast because they're waiting on you. I'd rather spread it out a little bit and make sure that everything's done very carefully.
The other thing that impressed me with talking with you is
Mhm.
you use the loaner car as a benefit to take care of your customers. When we started, you explained that uh, you had a vehicle that had a problem with a part that you put on, and you wanted to take care of your customer. And so you had a loaner car, and you said, "Hey, come on in, grab this loaner car. That way, I don't have to stress out on waiting on the part for yours." And that impressed me that you're taking care of your customers. The second thing is it's holiday weekend.
Yeah, it's I mean, not having a car this weekend would be a big thing, right? And this particular gentleman is a local contractor and he'll probably be working this weekend, but he's been borrowing a vehicle from family um since his vehicle broke down, and then we had to order a part, and that took a week because it was a kind of a special thing, and now that part is bad. So to me, I guess I want to put myself in the shoes of him. Like, what's he thinking now? And he understands that it's not my fault. But at the same point, as someone who has a loaner car, it's, I can just say, here's some wheels. You can give your family's vehicle back. And, it just, that's what I would want done for me, for sure. And so to me, it's a not much of a, like, there's not much deliberation about that. It's just, that's where the loaner car is going. And, we'll deal with, I mean, one of our loaners needs some repair at the moment too. So, but they're just a great asset to have in the shop for sure.
And see, that comes back to what your mission and what your morals are on your business. And you had explained to me that as a Christian, you're like, okay, I can't just fix cars. I have to do something else. And a lot of times we try to encourage shop owners, hey, what are you doing for the community? What are you doing, you know, for the area? What are you doing? And this gets into the final story we want to share, which was why I called you is you had an idea about fixing a vehicle and giving it away, and all of a sudden, this goes back to the beginning of who influenced you. So tell us that story, because this is like, oh my gosh, if this isn't God working, I don't know what is.
Right. So I roughly 3 months ago, and I'm not good with dates, but I was, like you said, thinking about, doing something with my business other than fixing cars and making money. And, the idea of just getting something decent and fixing it up and, and then giving it away. I felt like it was something I should do. And I made some preliminary videos and talked about it on our shop socials. And there wasn't really a lot of response other than there was a few people that had like some GM 36 stuff, and whatever. And I was like, so I made another video actually, and I was like, we want it to be a Toyota or a Honda. We don't want to give away a GM 36 because we don't want someone to have something they can't afford to keep. Um, and then I ran into Titus Martin at Vision, and we were talking after that, and he had just gotten this car in, and needed an engine. His client didn't want to carry on with the engine replacement on this old of a car. So I ended up buying the car from his client, and he was super nice to make that connection for me. And then it was either the day after or 2 days after that the car came into my scope of view, that Paul made his post about needing a Camry or an Accord for the single mom that needs to drive to tech school or trade school. And I just like I commented and I was like, I have one, how long do you have? How long can you wait? And since then, um, it, that ended up Paul had some other people reach out to him. There were some other options. So I just told him, what, like whatever works, if there's something that's closer or better, definitely take that up. Because I was going to give the car away anyway. It's like somebody will need it. But eventually, that became a good option for him as far as some of the other things. I'm not sure about all that. But anyway, and then another shop owner from here in Michigan that has a truck and trailer because he's also a dealer. so he can move cars. Um, he had reached out to Paul and said, I'll hold that for cost, just whatever it costs me. And him and his wife ended up going to Missouri to pick up this car and bring it back.
Now,
Um,
now we're talking from Michigan. The car was in Missouri that you bought.
yes,
You're
sir.
in Michigan, and another shop owner went from Michigan to Missouri, picked the car up, brought it back to you,
Hmm.
and you've worked out with the local suppliers and everything to get the majority of the parts you needed. And now, when you're done, and explain that part, and then when you're done, the car has to go back to Paul, who's in
Hmm.
Pittsburgh.
Yep. So when we get it, um, so suppliers, two of our main part stores and then our used part supplier all stepped in so that the used part supplier supplied an engine for us, and then all the things like belts and hoses and um, just anything that's expendable that's aftermarket on a car. Like I'm pretty picky about what I'll put on a car aftermarket. I use a lot of OEM stuff, but anything that I put on the list aftermarket, those two suppliers locally here covered that for us, which was awesome. And then so then Judd, yeah, he brought the car here. And it was a neat thing because I didn't know Judd was so close by. I mean, he lives 20 minutes from me. And, we have a similar outlook on life. We both have shops. We both, he's quite a bit older than I am, but it just super great connection that was made, through this car situation. And definitely, I feel like God definitely set that up because even just Judd with my diagnostics and programming and Judd not doing so much of that in his shop and being able to bounce ideas off each other. So we've quickly become friends, since since he brought the car. And the plan as of now, I'm planning to put the engine and the car together in the next few days here, and then when it's all done, I believe Paul is probably going to fly out and drive it back to Pennsylvania. I know that hasn't been fully decided yet, but that's what he's thinking.
Yeah, they were talking that one of the options was for him and Christine to uh, fly up there and then drive it back, and that would be so neat. Have you met him in person?
Yeah, so I met him at ASTE last year for the first time, and it was yeah, it was one of those things. I mean, I don't know, I just it was amazing to meet him, and he was there with Kristen, and they were kind of there. He wasn't really there representing Scanner Danner. He was there representing their new SD charities, which was super cool because he's definitely it's just neat to see him step into that. Um, because he is, like you said, he's a superstar in the automotive industry. And he's a very inspiring to me.
When you have some success or you're a successful business, it's like, okay, how can I use my business? How can I use my platform
Hmm.
to help others? A lot can do that, but they don't always do that.
Right.
Have one like that take their platform and go, oh my gosh, we want to go the next step. We want to do a charity and use what we've been blessed with to bless others. And that's what you're doing is a lot of times folks don't understand you might not you didn't have the vehicle, but you had connections
Right.
and you found one. And then you went ahead and like you said, on faith, you bought it knowing, okay, this other shop owner says it's a good car. It's a car that we just put the engine in it. And then you get it. Another one reaches out and says, I'll go get it for you, him and his wife. And they drive that many hours and they bring it
Right.
back. And then you have local businesses that are like, okay, they would have never thought about, hey, we got a bunch of parts here we can give away. It's like, hey, we have this vehicle that we're going to give away and we need parts. Then these other folks jump on and go, hey, we can help you. And it's just so amazing to see all of that happen, to see God working and
Yes.
for folks to be open to letting God work through them. And so it's young man, you are like amazing to be able to do that and to reach out. I'm so appreciative that you took the time today to share your story. And I hope all of these other folks listen to it and take a little bit of the advice that you're from your story and see all the blessings that they can do and help others and the value of going to these events. Thank you so
Yeah,
much, Elijah. Anything else that you'd like to share?
it's been a pleasure to be here, and I guess I would close with, as someone who has spent, at this point, most of my working years now, which is not that much in automotive. I mean, I love this industry, and like one thing that I want to do with any platform that I'm given, which is through my shop or through my social media or through my networking, is get other young people interested in this. And it's something I've seen I've seen like recently a young man. I saw him. He worked with a local shop, and he ended up quitting with them to go get paid like $1 more an hour to go push carts at a lumber yard. And I see this guy, and I just look at him. I shake my head and I say, "Man, you just missed the opportunity of a lifetime." Because I believe had he stayed in that position, he could have become that diagnostician that's worth 100,000 a year, and have that drive and fulfillment in life, which you probably don't get from pushing carts. I guess I don't know. I've never really done it. But so that's I guess what I want to do with whatever platform I have is propagate that and show people that, as someone who's, doesn't have any gray hair yet, you can actually love what you do in this industry and do well at it.
Well, thank you so much, Elijah. As always, I appreciate you watching.